Hey folks, so this is Cindy. Thanks so much for stopping by. I am here today with a really quick card making video. This is for the Simon Says STAMPtember Wplus9 stamp set. This is Humble and Kind. This stamp set is so sweet and it's so simple, and I really enjoyed using it. In fact, this card went together really fast. It was about 30 minutes from start to finish, and I cannot wait to use this stamp set even more. So I'm taking some Hero Arts Intense Black ink and I'm inking up my stamp. I'm going to use Neenah Solar White cardstock because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring, and I'm just really winging it. I have zero plan for how I'm going to do this. I just know that I want every single one of these flowers on this card panel. So I'm just going to start with the biggest one. I'm going to get that stamped on there, and then I'm going to go from there. I don't use my acrylic blocks very often. I normally use my Misty, but I decided since these seemed to be fairly simple shapes for the type of style of flower that they were, that an acrylic block would be just fine. Now, I did cut out some masks with some Simon Says Stamp masking paper, but I didn't cut them completely out because I'm not going to go over the top with any masking today. And I actually didn't even peel the backing paper off it because I didn't need to. After I was done with that, stamping everything, I took it over to my printer. I made a copy of it. I cut out around the edge of each of the flowers. I didn't worry about cutting out in the middle of them if there was any gaps, because I can fix that later when I Copic color. Now I'm going to do some ink blending. I have Twisted Citron, Salty Ocean, Peacock Feathers, and Wilted Violet. I'm going to start with the Twisted Citron there at the top, and I'm just going to lay down a light layer. Now my plan when I start this is not even to go to the edge of the other side of the card panel, but you'll see in the end I changed my mind and end up covering up the whole thing. And I'm also just going to do a small strip of it because I need to make sure that I have enough room to fit all four of these colors. So I want to make sure I give myself enough room. So because of that, I'm going to move on to the Wilted Violet at the bottom. So in case you haven't figured it out yet, we're doing Twisted Citron, Peacock Feathers, Salty Ocean, and Wilted Violet, just like the rainbow. And I'm going to put another thin strip of the Wilted Violet at the bottom there. And then I'll move on to the Salty Ocean. And again, it's just a thin strip. And I'm going to make sure that I have enough of a gap between the Wilted Violet and the Salty Ocean before I move on to another color. And it's the same thing for all four colors. Right now, I'm keeping a fairly light hand because, again, I'm not certain I'm going to go all the way to the other side of the card panel for one thing, and for another thing, I'm going to be working at this for a few minutes, so I know I can build up those colors and blend them together as I widen them out and then smooth them out. So I'm just kind of keeping it light as I go. Okay, and while you watch me do that, I just need to tell you guys, I'm so sorry that I sound awful. I have been crazy sick. I'm pretty sure that I have a sinus infection and I cannot quit coughing to save my life. So I sound awful, but I really, really wanted to get this done for you guys. I wanted to share this with you because everything that is released through Simon Says STAMPtember is limited quantities, so most of them sell out really fast. So I wanted to get this video out to you guys before this stamp set sold out. If you haven't gotten it yet, stop what you're doing right now. Stop my video, go to Simon Says Stamp and order this stamp set. There is coordinating dies to go with it as well if you're interested in the dies. If not, that's totally cool too. Just make sure that you pick up the stamp set because it's amazing and it'll be gone before you know it. Okay, so I'm just about done with this. As you can see, as I was ink blending, I was making my stripes wider and wider, and I was starting to overlap each color. Now, Distress inks are semi-translucent, so as you start to blend them together, you can create other colors with them. And these are some of my favorite colors in the rainbow to blend because it's like peas and carrots. They just were meant to be together, and I always love how it turns out. I'm never disappointed. All right, so I'm just about done with this, and then I'm going to move on to the Copic coloring. Now, I did start to color in the center of those flowers. I had actually intended on coloring all of these flowers in different shades of oranges, and then I decided to keep it super simple And as you're going to see, I'm actually going to color them white with yellow centers. Now, I'm starting with the green leaves because I need to kind of separate those from all of the everything else that's going on the card panel. And this way I can see which are leaves and which are flowers and how much green I have in here. And maybe I want to add more green. I don't actually end up doing that, but this is a good start. And they're simple shapes. They're easy to color. I'm just doing flicking motions. I'm starting with G14 on all of them. And then I'm going to move on to G17, then G29. And then as I work my way back to my lightest color of G14, you'll see that I bring in a YG17 because I want that to complement that twisted citron there at the top. And I think it looks really good. Plus, it also helps blend things in a little bit easier. So now for my shadow color, I've got the G29. Actually, when I get done coloring all of this in, there isn't a whole lot of greenery. Now, Dawn designed these images to complement the Modern Floral series. I'll have those linked below as well as over on my blog. You can check those out if you haven't seen them. If I were to use a stamp set again, I would definitely add more greens to this using some of the leaves out of one of those stamp sets. As it is, this turned out just fine. I think, actually, I think if I'd put any more green on this particular card panel, it probably wouldn't have looked as good. Anyway, I also forgot to mention that I had splattered on some Wplus9 shimmer spray on my card panel, and then I just gently blotted up the excess with a paper towel. If you've never used that before, you should check it out. It has a really beautiful shimmer. It doesn't lay down any color or a lot of color. It looks kind of white in most instances, but it looks beautiful with everything that you can use it on. So I'm just about finished up with this. I'm keeping my coloring really simple. I'm using flicking motions, but I'm making everything, after I put on my lightest color the final time, everything is going to be solid. I'm not worried about keeping an extra highlight or making everything look like it has tons of dimension. I just don't think it's necessary. Plus, I was also trying to get through this card really fast. So now that I'm done with that, I'm going to finish up what I hadn't recorded on the centers of my flowers. I started with a Y38, then I went in with a YR18. I think I just had the Y08. Now it's a Y02, and then I'm going to finish it off with a Y00. Honestly, you don't need to use as many markers as I did on this. I think I was just trying to go for a little bit more dimension, but it wasn't necessary. You can, these colors are bold enough that just a little bit of it's going to give the eye the idea that there's some depth inside this, especially once we start making these flowers look white. Now, the only thing that I am trying to keep in mind is I don't want that Y38 and the YR18 to look too harsh in there, so I am making sure that I get a good blend on that with my Y02 and the Y00. All right, so now I'm going to start coloring my flowers. All of them are colored in the same Copic colors. All of them are going to look white when we're done. I'm starting with the N1, and then I will move on to the C3, then to the C5, and then I will work my way back to the C3, the N1, the C0, and the C00. Now, I do in the end up going in with my colorless blender and kind of blending that out a little bit better. It probably wasn't necessary, but I felt like I didn't get that good of a blend. Now, the thing that you want to keep in mind when you're trying to color white is you're only coloring in the shadows. You need to make sure that you leave yourself some white space. So as you can see here on that C5, I'm just going into those little nooks and crannies, and I'm not bringing it out very far. I do end up bringing it out a little bit further with that C3, but I'm still trying to be super mindful about all of my white space, because if I color in all of that white space, it's going to look like I have a gray flower, and that's not what I'm going for. So a really good way to keep control of your marker and the thickness of your lines is how you hold it. In some areas, I will tilt my marker to the right as I hold it naturally in my hand a little bit, but you'll see a lot of times that you actually can't see what I'm coloring because I'm holding that marker straight up and down, and that's going to give me that really fine line and make sure that I'm not getting too thick, and then I'm not going to have to worry about trying to get rid of that later on down the road, especially when you're coloring in white. That is so important. Okay, I have them all colored in. It really is all done. I take a Sakura Jelly Roll glaze pen later on, and I color in the little stamens on the center of the flower, and then I use some Spectrum Noir clear overlay pen on all of the highlights of the petals, and that's it. I'm going to call it good. I really enjoyed this. Again, this is for Simon Says Stamp STAMPtember. This is Wplus9 Humble and Kind stamp set. Be sure to go check it out if you haven't. You can also head over to my blog for more details and links. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. As always, I hope you enjoyed my card today. Thanks again so much for stopping by. Until next time.